Joseph, would you like to go next?
Sure, let me just go ahead and put my PowerPoint slide. Please let me know if it can be seen.
Yep.
All right. Good afternoon. My presentation is on Conversos Unidos. This is an organization that its main purpose is to serve the Latino community. The main driving force is that many Latinos wonder today if they are Jewish after learning about the Spanish Inquisition, about that in Spain there were Spanish Jews that were forced to convert, and in 1492 they were expelled, and many of these Jews ended up traveling with Christopher Columbus to the New World. And these Latinos, they don't know who to turn for help and guidance.
Joseph,
about how. Yes.
I'm so sorry. We actually cannot see the slides. I see your screen, but I do not see your slides.
All right, let me see if I can fix this. Give me 1 second.
And in case folks are having any issues seeing the whole screen, once somebody shares at the top, you'll see a little hover and you can zoom or fit to screen. There we go.
What about now?
Yes, we can see it now. Thank you.
Sorry about that. So going back, it's about Latinos don't know who to turn for help and guidance. And many Latinos, they fell prey into false Jewish groups, Messianic congregation on their quest to find answers. And it makes their journey toward discovering they're actually Jewish more difficult. As an example, I'm going to take my story. I was raised as a Christian, where a father was a non-practicing Catholic. My mother was an evangelical Christian. However, I was raised by my grandfather, and my grandfather was seen as the other by the community. And he had practices that did not conform to the Christian practices of our town. For example, he prayed 3 times a day. And the way that he taught me his theology was that we were God's chosen people, and that our job was to repair the world and to bring it closer to the way that God has called us to be, to bring a piece of heaven to earth. When I became an adult, I started to question my Christianity because there were issues with the religion that did not fit in within my theology. And I went to a Christian seminary. And when I started to take the Hebrew class, I decided to go to a Messianic congregation. And when I started to hear the Hebrew prayers, it was a moment that I clicked, because many of the prayers that I heard at the Messianic congregation were the same prayers that my grandfather used to make. So that started me in a journey of discovery. And by being in a Messianic congregation, I had many bumps in the road. And because at that time I was in the Navy, I had a Jewish chaplain that he actually took me under his wing. He educated me about the Sephardic Jews, about the Anusim, which are the Jews that were forced to convert. That is converts in Hebrew, or in Spanish, they were called conversos, or nuevos cristianos, new Christians. This led me to a journey that actually I came back to Judaism. This rabbi mentored me to become a rabbi. So in that way, I can help people like me that were the son of the conversos. And during the process, I applied for Spanish citizenship, and my genealogical studies affirm that I'm indeed the descendant of the Sephardic Jews that were forced to convert during the Spanish Inquisition. What this has caused is that now there's an advent of information that now, unlike in the past, that these stories were not told, and the history books that were used when I was a child did not speak out about the Spanish Inquisition. Now it has become exploding an information source of information, because many Latinos are learning about the Spanish Inquisition, and many are learning that there is a large section of the Hispanic population that does indeed have Jewish descent. Many Latinos wonder if, when they hear this news, if they have Jewish heritage because of family practices, like, for example, lighting candles, not eating pork. One example, when I was a child in a funeral service for a family member, and my family would do an observation ritual. And one of my aunts, she had on her necklace the figure of a saint. And I asked her what figure was that? And she told me that she was Saint Esther, the patron saint of our family. What I learned many years later is that the Roman Catholic Church never canonized Queen Esther to be a saint. And that indeed it was the Conversos de Anusim that they made her the patron saint of the Anusim because they saw her that she hid her Jewishness in a majority country that was of a not different culture. And this was done so in that way the Anusim could identify themselves among other Anusim or Conversos that they were indeed Sephardic Jews, that they were keeping their tradition as a Catholic practice. And these Latinos, they feel a strong connection toward Judaism and the state of Israel. Why Latinos matter for Judaism? Since 2010, Latinos are the largest minority population in the United States, surpassing the African American population. As of 2020, there were almost 65.3 million Latinos living in the United States and Puerto Rico. That is roughly 19.5% of the overall population. For example, as of 2020 in New York, there were almost 3.9 million Latinos living in New York alone. And that is 19.3% of the overall population. By 2060, it is expected that the Latino population is going to rise to 111.22 million Latinos living in the United States and Puerto Rico. In the United States, just the Anglo population, about less than 2% of the population have any form of Jewish ancestry. In the case of Latinos, it was estimated in 2019 by the Jerusalem Post that it is estimated that 25% of Latinos have Jewish ancestry. So the solution to this Latino dilemma is to bring Conversos Unidos, that is a non-profit or Jewish organization seeking to provide the following services to Latino community. First of all, provide Latinos the ability to identify their Jewish roots, so in that way they can identify if they're Jewish, and also to help them cope with one other pain point that Latinos have, that when they face this dilemma, that many are told that they have to choose either to be Jewish or to be Latinos. And this organization is to provide a space and a mean that they can celebrate both being Jewish and being Latino. The other mission of the organization is to provide a smooth up ramp to help Latinos to be integrated with our Jewish communities, that they can be accepted, they can go either, if it is conservative, reform, Orthodox, whichever one fits their needs, but to be accepted and to be gained into our Jewish communities. Conversos Unidos is so far the only organization that was designed by an Anusim and is run by Anusim to help the Anusim in their journey back into Judaism. And together we can bring home those Jews of color whose heritage and identity was stolen from them a long time ago. Thank you for your time.
Thank you so much, Joseph. Joseph, I wanted to be mindful. Are you able to stay for just a little bit, or
yes,
do you
I'm gonna stay.
Okay,
yeah.
Great. Thank you. Feedback, affirmations, any thoughts for Joseph? Bethlehem?
Thank you, Joseph, for your passion and for your presentation and for the uniqueness of your story and the type of community that you were helping us learn about. And what I appreciated was the fact that you said no one has to choose between being a Latino and being Jewish, and for you to try to create a platform to respect both aspects of the person's experience, I think is very honorable. So I wish you best of luck. Great presentation. Thank you.
Thank you.
Elon?
So I've had the unique pleasure of watching this grow over the years. I say the years, it feels like it's been at least a few, but probably only a couple. But Joseph, I have to say, your conviction, your clarity of purpose, your understanding about the scope and the depth and the breadth of the opportunity ahead, and your fearlessness. Like, one thing about you, Joseph, and this is because I know where I know your background, and I know your inner strength. Like, you are utterly fearless, and you kind of have to be, right, to do that. This is not an easy path forward with the work that you're doing, and yet you've been so successful already moving in this work and building towards it. And so I think it's just this combination of your fearlessness, your conviction, the depth and breadth of the problem or the opportunity ahead, and your line of sight on how to get there. As the combination, it's just like, oh, of course. And of course it has to be Joseph. And of course it all works so beautifully. And it was so moving to watch that all come together, Joseph.
Thank you.
I'll only add, since you and I have talked about this project at some length, that the way you told this story, the way you brought the right pieces at the right time, at the right moment, I got chills hearing this story, and I think that you've really refined the huge amount of information that you have into really focused points of telling people exactly what they need to hear in order to support the work that you're doing.
And I'll just add a short part. And I would say I love how focused you are. I mean, from your own viewpoint and into a religious community, and I think that pinpointed focus, because it's a huge issue you're tackling, is amazing. And what I love about it is that you will not only tackle the issue that is uniquely yours, you will give a path for so many other people that are trying to put two different things together without destroying their past, their heritage, their ancestry. You know what I'm saying? Like, you really have placed and told that story so powerfully. I could feel your pain in that. You know what I mean? I could feel that struggle. And so in that way, I think that as you traverse this, that there are going to be a number of other people that are going to find, like, wow, how do we put these together? And I think the other fascinating thing is I think you're ahead of the curve, because I'm not sure that we're not going to have add an S to everything. You know what I mean? So it's our synagogues, it's our churches, it's our theologies, meaning that people might not belong to any one synagogue anymore, any one church anymore, or have any one theology anymore. There may be just multiples in it. And I think you're cracking some of the code with that for people to be able to hold things that in the past have seemed to be in tension, but to find some beautiful beauty in that. So thank you for sharing.
Thank you so much. Yeah, and Joseph, as a part of our ongoing network, I personally just feel so invested in supporting all of you and supporting you. And one of the things that I love to do is fiddle around with Google Slides. But that being said, there was a big part of me that really felt that there was such power in that what if moment that you described, and I would love to eventually see that in some form of like a customer journey map, or like a map to really like illustrate that journey, because it's so powerful the way that you described it with words.